The Speaker of the Israeli Parliament, Yoel Edelstein, will be visiting Britain tomorrow for 3 days. He's the first speaker to make a speech at the British Parliament. As part of his 3-day trip, he will meet British Prime Minister David Cameron and is due to speak in the Palace of Westminster at the invitation of House of Commons Speaker John Bercow. Edelstein has vowed to tell Israel's truth amid a growing controversy about his visit to the UK. And we're now joined on the phone by Israeli Parliament Speaker Mr. Yoel Edelstein. Mr. Edelstein, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
You're embarking on a historic trip. It will be the first time an Israeli Parliament Speaker will carry a speech in British Parliament, and also the first time an Israeli Speaker meets the British Prime Minister in London. What message do you hope to convey?
Well, I think that it's very important to keep the contacts going. I think that we have ongoing relations with Britain, less so with the British Parliament as far as I'm concerned, but I think that we have to improve the bilateral cooperation with the British Parliament because as far, well, the way I see it, it's just not doable to leave Britain as hostages of BDS and all these small and vocal groups. We have to tell them the truth about Israel, and I'm going to do so.
Mr. Edelstein, just a few days ago, Prime Minister Cameron came out with some very harsh words regarding the Israeli construction in East Jerusalem. How do you intend to respond to Prime Minister Cameron when you meet him?
Well, first of all, I hope the meeting will take place, once again, I want to describe the complexity and the situation the way it really is in Jerusalem. I'm, for one, not aware of any siege on East Jerusalem or any settlements in Jerusalem. I think that we are talking about the capital of the State of Israel with some problems, with some underprivileged areas, as there are in London, Paris, or New York, for that matter. And I think nothing is like a good, positive discussion. David Cameron is definitely a friend of Israel. So if there were some misunderstandings, I hope I will be able to help to find out what the truth really is.
Now, Mr. Edelstein, you live in Neve Daniel in the West Bank, which is considered to be a settlement. We all know of the pressure applied on Prime Minister Cameron to cancel the meeting with you. Do you think this might happen?
Well, I'm not a prophet. I know that the British Prime Minister lives on a very busy schedule. I don't believe, for one, that that could happen because of where I live, because when I was hosting Prime Minister David Cameron, as well as, I would dare say, hundreds of leaders of different countries in the last 3 years, prime ministers, presidents, foreign ministers, speakers of parliament, no one ever said to me that he wouldn't meet me or wouldn't come to the Knesset because of where I live. So I hope the same applies to my visits abroad.
So in terms of the latest controversy, so to speak, following Prime Minister Cameron's relatively harsh words regarding Jerusalem's building, you don't foresee there being a cancellation then?
I sincerely hope there will be no cancellation. I sincerely hope there will be a possibility for the meeting. I know there are big problems with scheduling it because, as I've said, of the schedule of the British Prime Minister. But I have a series of meetings in Britain, including with the Foreign Minister, including with the Shadow Foreign Minister, and definitely both speakers of the House of Commons and House of Lords. And I sincerely hope I'll have enough opportunities to deliver the message. And there's, once again, one piece of good news is that I don't have to lie. I can speak the truth, I can tell the truth, and I sincerely hope, and my experience says that after these meetings, people probably understand the situation in the Middle East is a little bit more complex than is sometimes presented.
Well, Israeli Parliament Speaker Yoel Edelstein, thank you so very much for joining us. It was a sincere pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.